Hi there, and welcome to Mom Coach Wife. My name is Alina Michelle, and today is Mompreneur Mondays. And it's a little bit different today than usual because I ran into a technical difficulty, which seems to be my norm right now, but that's life. So I'm actually re-recording the introduction to Mikaela's feature. So if you watched us on live, then you know that this is what I looked like on live on Monday. So I had to re-record the intro. So yeah, let's get into what today is about. Today is Mompreneur Mondays. If you're new to the channel, what that is a series that every single Monday I present to you a new mompreneur. Usually the video posts around 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but life didn't love me as much as I would have hoped, so you guys are getting it now. Also on Wednesdays, I was posting tips and tricks and whatnot, but due to a lot of different things that I've been juggling, I've had to pull back from that. The hope is that everything that I'm working on right now will be resolved and I'll be able to release that to you guys and kind of explain why I took yet another break from YouTube, but we will see that shortly. But Mompreneur Mondays, every single week, I present to you guys a totally awesome mother who is running her own business and showing that we can be so much more than moms. No matter what your goals and dreams and aspirations may be, you can go out there and chase them. And this week, we are talking to Mikaela Walker of Orlando Parents, LLC. Mikaela has created a phenomenal platform for residents of Orlando, Florida, as well as those visiting, to see different fun family things that they can do in and around Orlando. So if you are traveling to Orlando, Florida, or if you live there or you're relocating and you want to kind of find out what you can do with your kids, you're definitely going to want to tune in to this video so that you can learn about what it is that Mikaela is doing and tap into that. So let's go ahead and meet Mikaela and find out all about Orlando Parents, LLC. Hi, Mikaela.
Hi, Alina. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, thanks. Nice and early in the morning.
Yes, it is. You're my early bird. I love it. So, Mikaela, tell me a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to everyone and tell us what makes you more than just a mom.
My name, again, is Mikaela. I do have two kids. I have an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old. We live in Florida. We relocated here almost 4 years ago from New York. So I am mostly raised in New York, via Jamaica for a few years. I have my own business, which is Orlando Parents, LLC, where we work on helping other moms and dads like me find fun things to do with their kids. Whether it's through my online magazine, which provides information so they don't have to look it up themselves, or by putting on the events myself.
Amazing. So you are helping people to navigate parenthood, essentially.
Yes. And the reason why is when I had my daughter, we were living in Williamsburg, Virginia, and literally I would scour the internet trying to find things to do, and I'd spend hours on it. And then when we moved back to New York, it was the same thing until I discovered a website that basically just collated all the information, and it was my one-stop shop. If I wanted to do something, I would just go there. And then moving here to Orlando, it was the same issue again. So I decided I wanted to start something similar to what I had in New York, because I want to make sure that parents take their kids out instead of sitting in the house. But if you have to work all week and then you have to spend hours trying to figure out what to do for fun, then it's no longer fun. Then it's work, and then you're just going to say, forget it. We're just going to stay at home.
I totally appreciate that, especially like you said, being at home and working, and it makes it harder to like separate those two things, and saying like, okay, this isn't just a space for work. I don't know how many homes are set up, but I know personally I don't have a legitimate office. We have a room that got converted into an office. It's in kind of an open space, so everything's all in one. And so it does make it a little bit more difficult to dictate that difference and get out of work mode sometimes and into figuring out what we're going to do for fun. And you're right, it can be work to find that. So thank you for creating such a platform. So, tell me a little bit about your kids. I know you mentioned a daughter.
Yes, my daughter, she's 11,
Okay.
and she is in seventh grade right now. So we are working through, lovely middle school years. Um, my son is 6, and he's in first grade. So he needs a little bit more help. So navigating that homeschool thing and having to work, and I do freelance work as well, and then now homeschool. It's a lot, and I'm sure a lot of moms out there can
Yeah.
um, uh, commiserate with that basically this year with all the moving parts and trying to keep all the plates in the air.
Yeah, Mikaela, most definitely. We've definitely been given some different challenges in the last couple of years with having to play teacher and also take care of all the things that moms were taking care of prior
Mhm.
to being teachers. So tell me a little bit about what your inspiration was behind starting the business. I know you mentioned earlier that you had that place in New York and then you moved to Orlando and that didn't really exist anymore. So tell me a little bit more about what made you feel like you needed to be that one to go out and make this a reality.
I don't know if there is a reason why I decided I needed to be the one. It was just, you always see these things if it doesn't exist to create it. I don't know if you remember the movie The Field of Dreams. If you build
Hmm.
it, they will come,
Yes.
sort of thing. And it was just more. I just remembered what I went through, and I knew Orlando, we are not the only ones moving. Orlando is growing immensely. So there are tons of people moving to Orlando. So they were going to be in the same boat that I was,
Hmm.
because they weren't going to know what to do either. And so it just seemed like it was a great opportunity, because while I love Disney and my husband and daughter love Universal, there has to be more that you're doing with your kids than
Hmm.
just going to the theme parks all the time, at least in my estimation. So
Right.
um theme parks are easy. You know that they're there, you can buy a pass, and you can just show up all the time.
For
Everything
sure.
else takes a little bit more work. And so I wanted to try to make it as easy to go to something else that might be educational, might be different, might be something you wouldn't see elsewhere, as it is to say, you know what, I'm just going to go to Disney because it's right there. I have a pass. I don't have to think about it, sort of thing.
So, what are some of the things that you include in your magazine? Excuse me, that you include in your magazine that parents can do outside of the theme parks? Like, what are a couple examples?
So this year, my kids and I have been doing field trip Fridays, and that has, opened up a lot of things that we've seen. Probably the coolest thing that we have done so far this year, and we've done a few, is going snorkeling in a cave. And
Oh,
that was
cool.
pretty cool. It's this place called Devil's Den. It's about an hour and a half drive from Orlando, so it's a day trip. It's fine. And you walk down these stairs into this cave, gorgeous blue water, and you go snorkeling inside the cave, and you can do it year round. And even my little one, who was so nervous going in, after like 2 minutes, he was like, I'm fine. And it's the perfect place to take like a 6 year old, 7 year old who's never really been snorkeling, because there are no waves. There's nowhere for him to be dragged out to. You can pretty much see them the entire time. We also went swimming with the manatees, which was really cool. um, you have these really, they're so huge and they look like they would be dangerous, but they're so gentle. They don't really move around a lot. They don't really care about you. So you can just swim around and observe them. Um, Earlier this year, we did something called Nailed It DIY, and that does exist all around the country. But
Okay.
it was so much fun. We went in, we nailed signs together, we buffed them with, electric buffers. My kids were using like the electric nail gun. We sanded, we painted. It was a ton of fun, and it wasn't something that it would have said, "Oh, let's go make a sign from scratch," you know.
Nice.
So, and
I
I
would
was,
never have thought to do something like that.
yeah, you should totally check it out. It's over by Waterford Lakes.
Okay.
Um, and it was a ton of fun. Like the both kids really enjoyed it.
That
So
sounds
there's
like
so many things here in Orlando. And most of us who move here came here as tourists, so we really only know it as tourist city. But
Mhm.
now that you're starting to live here, you want to go beyond that and
Right.
find all the local gems and the fun things that there are to do that are beyond just, Touristville. And I will say though that there are some fun things to do in Touristville, and we do go sometimes in the off season. Like we won't be going over there, starting end of March through beginning of May because
Right.
that's when all the tourists come in. But Icon Park is fun. We've been to Madame Tussauds. We've been to Sea Life Aquarium over there. We've done iFly. So we do sometimes go down on the tourist strip and do some of that fun stuff as well.
Nice. And I get it. Like, obviously, with you living there now, you don't want to get like all caught up in the tourist attractions, and there's so many people from all over. And I know from me personally, like when we do travel, when you go to those places, it's crowded and it makes the fun a little less because you're fighting the crowd. So
Yep.
it's kind of cool that you guys have figured out, what time of year works for you to go do those things and found some local things that people like myself who don't live in Orlando probably wouldn't know about if it weren't for, your magazine and you sharing these amazing
Yeah.
experiences.
And my magazine is mostly for locals, but I do have, via Pinterest and things like that, I do have some people who are probably traveling to Orlando and maybe coming on a budget so
Mhm.
that they can only do maybe 1 or 2 days at Disney, but they don't want to stay in the hotel and swim in the pool for the other 5 days of like a week-long vacation.
Right.
And some of these things would work really well for them as well because there's a lot of stuff in Orlando that you can do. Um, so I think some people do come to take a look that are not locals, but it is mainly for locals.
Awesome. So prior to doing this magazine, what did you always see yourself as an entrepreneur, or was this something that you just saw that opening and said, "This is what I'm going to jump into now"?
And I was thinking about that question the other day, just sitting here in my office. Did I ever think that this is where I would be? And I was like, no. But what's interesting is that at a young age, I always had like a little business to try to make some money. But as an adult, I completely forgot about that side and never thought I would be an entrepreneur until I became one. And then I remembered I used to sell things from catalogs door to door. You know,
Yeah.
I had my little penny saver business where I was delivering the penny saver, all those things. But as an adult, and especially because I'm from a Caribbean background, you're supposed to go to school, you're supposed to get a career,
Mhm.
and you stay in that career. We don't really talk about entrepreneurship and starting your own business because that's not safe. You're not going to have a salary, and what are you going to do for money? So
Right.
I think it was just a mindset shift once I had my kids and my old job. I traveled a lot, and I sometimes would take 2 plane flights, not just a round trip, like two separate round trips a
Oh,
week. One
wow.
at like the beginning of the week, one at the end of the week, and I did that for years. Um, and I remember once I went into my daughter's bedroom, and I think my son was only like a year old at that point, and my niece pointed out that on her blanket she wrote "I miss you, mom" on her blanket because I was gone so much. for
Aw.
travel. And so you had asked about the impetus, and yes, I forgot about this. The part of the impetus was I wanted to be able to stay home more, because I did travel so much. I was missing things. I'd get videos of them like having like a little jam session in the den, or like, starting to walk or crawl or something. And I was away on a trip because I was working. So I wanted to be more present. And my daughter even jokes, because I was my son's class mom last year. I could barely show up for things for my daughter. I missed her little kindergarten Mother's Day breakfast, and I was the only mom not there. I'm still traumatized by it. She doesn't remember it, but it's something I remember. And, that was part of the, okay, well, I don't want to be that mom anymore. I want to be able to be here. So while I think it's important to work, especially for my daughter, I want to be able to show up to the little concerts, or show up to the assembly, or, have dinner with them most nights. It doesn't have to be every night, but most nights I want to be able to have dinner with them. So.
Yeah, Mikaela, I mean, that would be really rough. I couldn't even imagine having to travel that much and missing so many things. And like you said, although she doesn't remember it, you do, and that's a weight that we as moms carry whenever we aren't able to be there for different things. That mom guilt is very, very severe.
Mom, yes. And mom guilt on yourself. And then when you see other moms guilting you, or then when you see other moms who are doing like, I think there was this thing where this mom bedazzled like their daughter's like school t-shirt, and other moms were like, why did you do that? Now my kid wants one and I don't have time to bedazzle a t-shirt. So you get that, because she used Girl Scouts. Like literally I was the mom who would drop her off, and I was sitting in the parking lot trying to get a signal because I had to do a call. So I would literally do a drive-by. She would hop out of the car, and then I'm making phone calls in the parking lot for Girl Scouts. So I'm like, I don't want to be that person anymore. So
Yeah. And that's the thing, we have to make the decision on like what kind of mom we want to be. And it's so beautiful that you saw what was an error for your desired lifestyle, and you made that tweak and said, okay, this traveling business is not going to be it. I need to do something else. And I think what you ended up doing is actually a really cool thing, because even for a mom like how you were before, it's probably even harder for that mom to figure out something fun to do because she's so busy working. But in those moments that she's able to get with her kids, she needs that access to something that's going to allow her to really connect with them and really have fun with them. So
yeah, so I created a business for moms like the old me.
exactly. Because they're still out there too, and for them that might be their best lifestyle. Maybe they're doing something that they're really, really passionate about, and so they need to just find that way to create that balance. And that when they can connect with your magazine, especially if they're in Orlando, and find different things that they can easily just say, okay, we're going to go do that, and they don't have to put the extra hour or 2 hours into trying to create it. So it's really amazing that you basically helped the old you.
Yes.
So how long have you been doing this particular magazine? I don't know if you said that earlier. I didn't catch it if you did.
No, I didn't say. I started it a year before I moved to Orlando, so it's about 4.5 years old
Okay.
at this point. The events portion I actually just started last year, so that is not even a year old yet.
Okay.
It was an idea that I wanted to eventually have, and then it started out because of the pandemic. Kind of, oh, let's try it now, sort of thing. And then I plan to grow it more this year.
So what are the key differences between the magazine and the event side of your business?
So the magazine is curating locations and information that already exists. So if you want to go horseback riding, you want to go kayaking, you want to go to a paint class, an art class, music class, that sort of thing. So whether you're looking for things for your kids or you're looking for activities to do as a family, you're going to find that on my magazine. And then also I go to places with my kids and I do reviews and things like that of the places. So like we went to the Legoland Pirate Hotel last week. I'll do a review of the hotel, or the class, the Nailed It DIY. I'll do a review. So if you're thinking of going, you know what to expect and what is there. There'll be some pictures so you can say, you know what, this looks like it will be fun.
Right.
Let's go and check it out. On the event side, I am actually providing the thing for you to take your family to. At least that's the goal. So far, we've only done virtual events, and that was in response to the pandemic. So we put on a virtual concert with a local kiddie musician. We did an online Easter art class where kids got to make like a little Peter Rabbit bunny craft for art. We did a music class, so with, you know, the different instruments and the scarves and all of that stuff. And then we did a Harry Potter trivia night as well. And right now we are working on doing something fun for, again, for that Easter time period, and then like an end of year sort of fun family event, but they're both going to be online. And then hopefully in the fall we can do something that'll be like a fun fall festival or like a holiday festival or something, and we'll be able to do that one live.
Awesome. So this is like actually just providing something for them to do directly. I mean,
Yes.
virtually right now, but but providing them with something fun that they can just like tune into and do. That's really cool. So is the event side of it, is that also local? I know your magazine is pretty local to Orlando. Are the events local to Orlando, or is this something that because it's virtual anyone could join into?
My target market is, you know, I wouldn't say hyper local, but it's like Orlando metro area and like 45 minutes in any direction. But for something like the Harry Potter trivia, we had people from a bunch of different places show up for that. But I am targeting folks in Orlando because that's what my magazine and business is about. It's helping, you know, the local area moms and dads. And in the future, it's possible that I'll expand to another area. But right now, just here.
Hey, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being local. I mean, that's a really good way to really truly build your name, with keeping that audience kind of tight knit and then expanding later if you choose to do so.
And there's so many people here and so many people moving here every month. We're getting
Yeah.
tons of new people moving. I think we're one of the fastest growing metro areas in the country. And, you know, it's interesting because when you say you're moving to Orlando, especially from New York, people look at you strangely. But then you get down here and we've got people who relocated from New York, New Jersey, Chicago, Atlanta. So a lot of people from other metros are moving down
I'm
here.
surprised you didn't say Michigan, because it seems like everyone leaves Michigan. That's where I am.
I
And
haven't met
goes to
anyone from
Florida.
Michigan, so they're probably here, but I haven't met them because yes, I would leave too. I've got to be honest. I don't like the cold. So
No, it's
yeah.
fine. I don't like the cold either.
So, you know, after, you know, winter storm, whatever, if we were in New York right now, I'd be crying. So
Yeah, I could go without the winter storms. It's weird because I like the snow. I don't like the cold.
I like the snow for a week. And I like to look at it from the inside. But what happened, because I've been working from home for a long time, and in the winter months in New York, I basically would open the door and wave to my daughter as she walked to the bus, open the door so she could get back in the house. And I would do that for about 4 months. And so I was like, being a hermit is not a great life. So I decided, even though Florida summers can be brutal, I leave my house. So I'd rather be in a Florida summer than a New York winter. So that's why I decided, you know what, let's pick up and move to Florida.
Yeah, that's awesome. Honestly, like I've always talked about like moving to a warmer place, and just still in Michigan for whatever reason. I do like seeing all 4 seasons. That's kind of cool, but yeah.
That is the one thing I do miss. October was my month. I know a lot of people are like, December is my month. I love Christmas. But in New York, fall festival season was just my season. And I
Yeah.
would take the kids out every week. We'd wear our costumes multiple times and we'd go apple picking and hay rides and pumpkin picking. And I miss that. So I'm hoping this October we can drive up to Georgia, because they have like a little 4-day break and we'll get to do some of that stuff. It won't be the same as the Northeast, and maybe one year we'll fly up, but
Yeah.
I want to recreate that, especially for my son, because he's been down here, over 3 years. So he doesn't even remember snow. He doesn't
Yeah, he doesn't.
remember fall, none of
Yeah, no way he's remembering that. But yeah, I absolutely love the fall because of all of the different activities that you can do, and you can do them outside and without being too cold. And then it's like when winter hits, it's just like, oh, I gotta put all this extra stuff on just to stay warm. It's a hassle. But anyways, off of our weather rant. What do you hope to accomplish within your business? Like, what's one of your goals that you've set?
that. Well, beyond just like, numbers and growth, my real mission that I have is helping families create lifelong memories. That's really what I'm about. Um, I love to travel and I love to travel with my kids, and that creates some great memories. But you have all these other weeks of the year where, especially in America, you're only really getting 2 weeks of vacation. So you that's trying to shove lifelong memories into 2 weeks. So, you know, with my business, I'm trying to help families create lifelong memories year round. So just doing amazing things with their kids on the weekends and just going places around here. And so the kids will have that when they move on to college, and then to have their own families, and the parents will still have those memories when their kids are grown up and gone. That is really what I'm trying to do.
So a generational impact, essentially, like something that can impact them first, and
Hmm.
then that they can pass down. Because honestly, one of the things that I know from my childhood was so important was all the different experiences that I had with my parents. Like those are some of my biggest memories to date, are
Hmm.
the different times that my parents took time out to take us different places or to do things, even when they were just at home or in our backyard. So it's really important that we make those memories. And like you said, you do have to sometimes cram them into short periods of time
Yep.
because there's school and there's work and there's all these other things going on. But it's really amazing that you're making an impact on
Yeah.
these
And
children.
I think this year I've seen much more how it's needed, just
Mhm.
because, being home with the kids and all the technology. And, my daughter now has a phone that, her aunt gave her a nice new phone. It's nice and shiny, and she's always on it. So now, she's a teenager. All they want to do is be on the phone all
Yeah.
day long. And I feel like now it's more important because they could just get lost and sucked into that. And it's like life is happening around you. Let's go and do something and get them away from the video games and the TV. And I feel
Right.
like as parents we give a lot of that stuff to them, and it does make life easy. And I'm not saying there aren't some times where I just want peace and quiet and I just let my 6-year-old play on his Switch. But I also think it's important to, make sure that we are doing things with them, and that we're getting them out and we're getting them off of the technology, and they're experiencing life, and they're not just experiencing it through a computer screen. Because my 6-year-old loves Pinterest. I don't know why. And I'm like, what are you pinning? But he's pinning things. And I want to make sure that, okay, you're pinning, places that are wonderful to see or foods that are great to eat. Let's go try them. You
Yeah.
know, he loves diners, drive-in and dives.
Yeah.
And so we're like, let's go try them. There are a bunch of restaurants in Orlando that were, they were on the show. So we started trying some of the restaurants. So it's
Yeah.
not
We
just
used
that,
it when we went to New Orleans.
it's like,
That was our
what?
little restaurant guide.
Exactly. So, we're going up to Asheville, and we're like, along the way, let's stop at a restaurant that's on diners, drive-ins, and dives, because then you can make that connection. And it's not just, oh, I'm watching a TV show, I want to watch a TV show. It's like, no, let's experience things in life. not just on the
Yeah.
computer, not just on the TV. Let's go out and create our own experiences. Let's stop just watching the YouTubers or the Instagram influencers who are taking all these fantastic photos. We don't have to take fantastic photos, but we can go experience the
Right.
things that are happening.
The
So,
thing that irks me is the YouTube kids of other kids playing.
mhm.
That one bothers me so much. I've stopped my daughter from watching them so many times. I'm like, just go play with your toys. She was watching a little girl playing with a toy that she had. And I'm like, you can just go play with it. Why are we watching this? So I totally get it.
I
You're
haven't
right.
figured that out, and I'm like, maybe it's like having a virtual play date, basically,
I
why
don't
they
know.
like it. But my son adores it. My daughter loves to watch people play video games. I don't, and it's not video games that she has, so it's not like she's getting tips, because
Hmm.
that I could understand. Because it's like, okay, if you play Minecraft or Fortnite and you don't really know what you're doing, let's watch these folks get some tips and go back.
Right.
No, it's just watching them for fun. Watch them
Well,
play the game.
I do understand that one. And that's because
Okay.
my husband and I actually do that sometimes. But the games have changed in a way that when you watch, depending on who you're watching, when you
Mhm.
watch them, they a lot of them play almost like a movie,
Mm.
right? So there's like dialogue within them, and they may see different, like a different version depending on who they're playing. So in that sense, I can understand that one a little bit more, but it also depends on what game she's watching, because I don't think all the games are set up like that.
Mhm.
But that one makes a little bit more sense to me than watching someone play with a toy that you own. Just I didn't get that one, but
A
ultimately,
lot
it's
of things
really
that
important to get out.
the younger generation does right now that I don't understand, and I think it's partially because we didn't have all this stuff. You know, my
Yeah,
husband and I were discussing the fact that I didn't have a cell phone until like middle of college. I didn't have, iPads, computer. We got later in life, in terms of a computer. So we didn't have all these distractions.
yeah,
So we had to go out and play or create things or, just do things on our own. Whereas now it's, I sit in my room, the other one sits in, one sits in one room, one sits in the other room, and they're just glued to a screen.
yeah,
And I'm not the only one. I'm sure that has that, and it's like I said before. Part of what I'm trying to do is help parents not have to take the easy way out,
yeah.
because on a Friday, you want to do something, but then you're like, I'm tired. Am I going to really spend this time trying to figure out what's happening? You know what? They can just, stay on their stuff. They're happy. Um, and so
That is easy,
it is very easy.
and I've been guilty of it before. Where I'm like, just watch
We
some
all have. And
cartoons.
so there's no judgment here, because I think, judgment creates lots of problems, especially with moms. We're very judgmental against other moms. So if you can't afford it, if you're tired, if you don't have time, that sort of thing, I'm trying to take all of those away, because I'm now doing free activities every month. I used to do it every once in a while, but now it's going to be a monthly feature on the site.
Awesome.
Um, so there's nothing stopping you. Like if you're on a budget, there's still things that are out there that you can go do.
Right.
Um, and if you need cheaper things to do, have those as well. Virtual, because you're not going out of your house. There's that as well. So it's just trying to cover every sort of thing. If you're looking for fun at home activities, we're covering basically the gamut. So anything that a parent might say, okay, no, we want to stay at home, we want to be online, we want to look for free stuff, we want budget stuff, we want luxury. We don't do a ton of that, but we
Yeah.
do have some of that. If I want to go to a luxury hotel, we've got that covered also.
Awesome. And I think that that's amazing that you do have that variety, because a lot of times the excuse is, oh, well, we also can't afford to go to Disneyland, or we can't afford to do this, or what have you, when there are a lot of really cool activities you can do at home. I've stolen some from my kids center at the gym that we go to. They have, and so one day she got there after they made a crown, because you only get like a certain amount of time, so they have different activities at different hours, and they made a crown out of like construction paper. So we got some construction paper and glue, and we did arts and craft day at home, you know. And sometimes it is like just kind of getting a little creative
Mhm.
and finding different little fun things that you can do. But I love the mentality of getting them away from taking the easy route out and giving them something that they can easily do as a family, and build some memories, instead of it being like, oh, I remember when I watched that YouTube video.
Yes. I saw this on Pinterest. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, let's try
exactly.
it.
So you mentioned earlier in our chat that you had started this business pre-COVID.
Mhm.
So what ways has COVID, because it's obviously not going anywhere anytime soon, what ways has it affected your business?
So my business was mainly focused on getting out of the house. So it was, what is there to do in Orlando area, maybe a weekend trip somewhere, that you would take your kids and you would go to. So it was not a stay at home and do something sort of business. So when COVID hit, no one was going out, obviously. And so my business didn't make sense as much at that time. So what I had to do was pivot, and that's how actually the at-home stuff started taking place, because I had to pivot during COVID. So I started doing more at-home activities that you could do with the kids. So
Right.
things like online. Sorry, one second. So things that you could do online, doing lots of virtual things. That's how the events business actually started, because I wanted to find things for parents like me, because I now had my 6-year-old and 11-year-old at home, and it was like, well, what are we going to do? We
Right.
can't play games all day. And the school was scrambling, trying to figure out what they needed to do with education. So I started trying to find educational things kids could do at home to supplement. So whether it was virtual field trips, virtual classes, readings, Jazz at Lincoln Center had like a bunch of at-home programs, different museums in New York that we normally wouldn't be able to go to, or see. They had all these great online programs. So I started providing information on all this online stuff that people could do, and then started providing information on at-home activities that families could do. And it was well received. And so I think I'm going to continue on doing it, even though that was not the original intent of the site. Um, I probably will continue on providing that information along with the things that you can do outside of the house as well.
Awesome. So basically, you just adapted to the current times, and made your business work within the timeline, what was going on in the society at the time.
Yes.
Awesome. So let's talk about balance a little bit. Now, you have a unique business because your business is literally about spending more time with your kids.
Yes.
So, so one of the things that we talk about a lot on the Mom Coach Wife channel is about balancing your personal life with your kids and your work life and all the different things that make you you, right? So how are you balancing having this magazine, being a mom, and taking care of Mikaela?
Um, I'm not gonna lie, I don't. Um, the taking care of Mikaela part is does not really happen right now, and I will be fair. I think part of it is due to the pandemic, because um, I had started being better about it before this happened. Like
Yeah.
I bought myself like a 12-month massage package so I could go once a month, and I was being pretty good about it, just to get like that little relaxation. And I would stop work early on a Friday, even just a couple hours. So I would have a couple hours to myself before, my son came home, because the older one, she doesn't, she wants to be by herself in her room. So she comes home
Routine.
self-contained, whereas the little one wants to be with me. So, I was like, okay, stop work at 2. I'll get like 3 hours by myself. Um, So the taking care of Mikaela part, I'm working on that. It's a work in progress. But balancing my business and my kids, I am trying to get better at stopping work. Because if anything, my 11-year-old, that's what she would complain about. It's that, mom, you're always working. Because you think you go into business for yourself, that you are going to be able to work around your schedule and you're not going to have to work as much. But what happens, especially when you're in the building years, is that you are spending a ton of time working. And
Yeah.
especially when your office is at home, it's very hard to get away. My husband will call me for dinner and I'm like, I'm coming. And he's like, dinner is now. You need to come now. And I'm like, I just need to finish this one last thing. So I have promised myself when they go to school again that I am going to stop at a certain time of the day and not pick it back up again until like 8:30 at night when I put the younger one to bed, so that I have that time with them in the interim. But right now, between having to stop for homeschooling, I don't work Fridays because we do, I want to take them out of the house. So it's a little harder right now to say, okay, I have this hard stop time. So it's kind of fluid because, sometimes I have to take my son to the park during the day, or I'm doing something with him during the day. So it doesn't work as much right now. So my schedule is off.
I get it. Like you said earlier, no judgment. That's one thing I also do not agree with, is judging another mom for whatever's going on in her personal life, because we all have different lifestyles. We all have different things affecting us. But yeah, I get it. My schedule, I got really good, and then the pandemic hit and everything was like, oh, wait. And one of the things that I love that you touched on, for anyone who is thinking about starting a business and has a child, oops, sorry. Excuse me. Cut that out. Can you hear that?
Yep.
And I can't find it. Can you still see me? You can't still see me.
No, you went to green screen.
Sorry, I usually have a 9 a.m. Real estate meeting, so that was I told you I set alarms for everything to make sure I'm on time. So I was saying, one of the things that I really, really like that you stated was that starting your own business doesn't mean you're going to work less. One of the things to think about is, like, when you're working for someone, you have one job. That's it. Like, whatever your role is, that's the only job that you have. When you start a business, you have like 20 jobs. Unless you started with an entire team or employees and all of that. And to be honest, most of us don't. Then you end up doing all of the work that a 10 to 20 person team would typically be doing. So it's actually, a lot of times you end up doing a little bit more.
Yeah, so I remember a friend of mine in the beginning, she told me she tried working from home and she said that it was more work. Whereas when she's in the office, when she leaves, she comes home, she's done, she has her free time on the weekend. Whereas when you're working from home, it feels like you're always working and your work life bleeds into your family life. And I know that's why a lot of people like to have their office, in the back of the house, like they build, on top of the garage or something, because you physically have to leave the house to get to the office and leave the office to get back into the house. Whereas I just open my door and it's not, it's French doors, so you can see through it. And so you can always see the computer in the office, and it's like drawing you because you're like, I have all these 50 million things that need to get done. But just to touch on what you said about being everything in your business, it was very interesting for me when I started, because you think, oh yeah, I can do this. It's easy. I have all this, work experience from before and education. But I'm finding, especially with this, I don't know a lot about a lot of this stuff. So I'm constantly trying to take courses or trying to navigate things and figure them out. And it's, it's definitely different. And I didn't expect to be doing this at this stage of my life. So
there's a huge learning curve to start your own business, especially with all the different technology that's out there. Mm-hmm. It is helpful, but you have to learn it first.
which is what I'm doing, trying to navigate all of social media. So trying to learn, what works on all these different platforms, and then trying to learn how to, work on my website and put up information, and, what's slowing it down, what's speeding it up. And I have learned that, though, that sometimes it's just better to outsource, because the amount of time I'm going to spend on trying to figure out something is not the best usage of my time. And if you can afford it, and I do highly recommend, if you're going to start a business, that you do set aside a budget to start it, because while you can start for zero, it's very hard to scale at zero.
Yeah.
So, like, I hired someone to help with the website, and it's a very cheap monthly plan, but I've had a couple issues. And in the past, I would spend hours, and I have spent like 5 hours trying to figure out some problem. And I'll send it to them, and they'll fix it in like half an hour,
Yeah, because they
and
know what those kind of issues
and
are.
it probably really only takes them 5 minutes. It just takes, 25 minutes to get to my place in the queue. And then 5 minutes, they fix it. And I'm like, for $57 a month, that's $57 well spent, because I valued my time at more than, $12 an hour. So
Exactly.
I'm doing something else and paying that, and I do have some people who write for me, because I was trying to build up the writing, and there was no way that I was going to be able to write 3 posts per week, try to do the marketing, try to do all the back end stuff, try to promote on all these different sites. I just didn't have the time for it, because I'm still freelancing, which helps to
Fund the
support
business.
this business while I'm trying to build it. I still have to bring income in. So I was like, well, this is a good place to outsource as
Yeah. Outsourcing is very, very important. If you can do it, do
well.
it. There's benefits on both sides. If you can outsource, you get so much more time back for outsourcing, like you stated. If you can't outsource, if you're not in that position to do it, the benefit is that you learn how to do each and every one of those things. It might take you a little bit longer,
Yes.
and it'll probably save you some money in the sense of like what your monthly fees are,
Mhm.
but you learn how to do that. And then if you have a business where you want to get employees, it makes it easier to know what they should be doing because you know it yourself. So it's benefits. But then when you outsource, you're outsourcing to people who already know what to do, so you don't have to worry about training
So,
and teaching and
yeah.
things. So
So on the tech side, I partially agree. Like, on the tech side, I think you have to have the personality that you like to dive into
oh
things
yeah.
and spend lots of time learning things, and you can't get frustrated too easily, because you literally could be there for hours trying to figure out something. Like, I've spent so much time on the back end of my website trying to figure out stuff, and
Guilty.
it's not easy. But then on the flip side, I have spent a lot of money for people, especially on social media. Last year, I spent a lot of money and really got no return, because there are a lot of people touting that they know what they're doing, and they can
And
help
they
you build a
don't.
brand, and they can do all this stuff. And so I had to bring it back to myself, and then really take a look at where I wanted to focus and what my business was about. And I think now, if I went out and got somebody else, I'd be in a better place to say, okay, this is what I want stuff to look like. So, like, I
Mhm.
just hired a VA to help me with Pinterest. And I put together a document, and I now know this is what I want my pins to look like. I like them when they look like this. This is, what
Right.
stuff needs to be. When you put stuff up there, this is how you do everything. And part of that learning process was, because I hired all these people to do it, and they didn't do it right. So I had to figure out what worked well.
For sure.
So that is possibly also a better way to do it. Learn what works for you, and then go ahead and outsource it, because then this is what I want, this is how I want it done, versus having someone else determine it for you.
Yeah, 100%. You have to kind of have an idea, and that's why it's so important when you first start to have that business plan, because it's going to help even to shape those ideas down the road, like what you were talking about as far as aesthetics. And yes, please, people, be careful about who you outsource to. I know I've had so many Instagram promo people like reach
Mhm.
out to me, and it's always like fashion. I'm not in fashion. So that's not going to help me. I don't need a bunch of people coming to my page looking for what I'm wearing, because honestly, it's probably not the top-notch fashion anyways. It's whatever I end up liking. So so it's really important to know what your niche is, and to know that the people that you're outsourcing to, especially when it's marketing people, that they are expertise in whatever your niche is. So be really, really careful about that. And not everyone that's on Instagram saying that they know what they're doing on Instagram really does. Look for the true results. I know with social media, those are really easy for people to be like, oh, I know how to get you more followers on social media.
Yep.
If you do get more followers, you get bots, or you get people that never engage. So it's really important to know that difference for those out there. But anyways, we are going to be live again later on. So I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this particular one up, because I do have a lot more questions for you, but I'm going to get those in our Instagram live. So I want to get into a couple of fun questions and then find out how we can connect with you. So first, I want you to tell me what you would name a book that was written about your life.
My book would
Yes,
be
your book.
Organized Chaos.
I love it.
First thing that came to my mind was Organized Chaos.
The Organized Chaos.
Yes, that would be, my life. So while it might look chaotic, there's some sort of organization going
What would
on.
the cover be? Like you juggle
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff?
There'd be like two covers, one with me in like a business suit and my pearls, like, the Spellman ladies and Kamala Harris,
Yeah.
looking all nice and professional. And then on the other side, I'd be like a hot mess. So what I normally look like when I'm not doing interviews at 8 a.m. Yeah.
Love it. So my other fun question that I like to ask, I usually do it on YouTube. Sometimes I do it on Instagram as well. If I were a genie, I want you to imagine I'm a genie. You wrote my lamp, I came out, granted you 3 wishes. The only rule is that you cannot wish for more wishes. Okay. What would you wish for? Don't overthink it, because I'm not a real genie, so I can't really make these things come true. But 3 things that you would wish for.
Yes. I would probably wish for, like a bunch of trips to Disney World for people who have not been able to take their kids, and their kids have been seeing it on TV and they really want to go to Disney World. More time off.
Selfless wish. I love that.
Yeah. More time off for families to spend time together. And right now, to be honest, I would wish for the ability to go travel somewhere. I miss traveling. So I would wish to be able to go anywhere with my kids right now, either sit on a beach, go to Europe, something like that. Leave Orlando.
Your wishes just like really out at your heart. Because it's so funny. I ask this all the time, and everyone can go back and look at the wishes, and there's nothing wrong with any of the answers that any of the moms have given. Mine weren't selfless either. They were all about me. But the fact that your first 2 wishes had absolutely nothing to do with you personally, I think was just such a beautiful thing that really speaks to the type of person that you are and your heart, and wanting to truly help other families. So I just wanted to say that little piece. That was beautiful. Now, go ahead and I want you to just end this off by telling everyone where they can connect with you, how they can, if they're in Orlando, how they can get the magazine, if they're in Orlando or not in Orlando, how they can participate in events. And then also, if you have any piece of advice for a mother who is thinking about starting a business, or a mom in general, you can tell us that last.
So you can find me online at orlandoparentsmag.com. And so if you're local, but also if you're visiting, that's fine. I do have a lot of things on there that you probably would never have known about to do in Orlando, besides going to visit the House of Mouse or Universal. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook at Orlando Parents. And then you can find me on TikTok at Orlando Family Fun. And then advice I'd give to moms starting a business is don't overthink it. I am the type of person who would spend a lot of time just thinking and thinking and thinking. And if you spend all this time planning and never start, then you won't have a business. So 50% is good enough to get started. It doesn't have to be 100%. You can tweak it and ramp it up as you go. But it's just important to get started and start moving forward. Um, and then you don't have to have a ton of time. You can take whatever time you have. I have found recently that I can get stuff done in 30 minutes and take those little 30-minute blocks, and they will add up to 10 hours during the week or 20 hours during the week. Just make your work, put it into like little bite-sized nuggets or chunks that you can knock out in a small period of time. But just follow your dream. It's never too late. It doesn't matter if you start in your 20s. It doesn't matter if you start in your 40s or even your 50s. If you want to start your own business, go ahead and do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those words of encouragement. Anyone watching, make sure that you check out the Orlando Parent Mag and also connect with Mikaela a little bit more. Obviously, she has a beautiful, beautiful heart. And I think that this mission is going to impact so many people in such a positive way. So thank you, Mikaela, for being with me today for Mompreneur Mondays. I really appreciated you taking this time out and look forward to going live with you later on.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks. Talk soon.
Bye-bye.